Hey guys, so today we're doing one-step inequalities. It is important to realize that we solve one-step inequalities the same way we solve one-step equations. So we're just using inverse operations to isolate our variable. Okay, so I'm going to take you through this and I'm going to show you an example because sometimes you will have to do what's called flipping your sign. And I'm going to show you how that works too. So I'm going to go through this really detailed example and then we're going to work through some example problems. So looking here, I have negative 2x is greater than 6. So I'm going to zoom in on this so you guys can make sure you read it. So the step one is to isolate our variable. So that means to just get x by itself. So I need to get rid of that negative 2. So to do that, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2 to get rid of my coefficient, just like we normally do. So that gives me x is greater than negative 3. Well, typically, yeah, that's where we'd stop. But since we divided by a negative, we're going to have to do what's called flipping our sign. So when you flip your sign, you're going to do this when you divide by a negative or multiply by a negative. So basically, anytime you have a negative coefficient, you are going to be doing this, okay? So since I have a negative 2 as my coefficient, I am going to be flipping my sign. So as you can see here on step 3, when I write my solution, it goes from x is greater than negative 3 to x is less than negative 3. So that's all you have to do to flip your sign, really. It's not anything more complicated than that. So you are pretty much done at this point. So that's all that flipping the sign means, is you go from less than to greater than, or from greater than to less than. You are never going to go from like greater than to greater than or equal to. It will always change the direction. It's never going to change the type, okay? So now we're going to work through some example problems. So here I have 3x is greater than 6. And I'm actually going to skip this one because I worked it out wrong. So we're going to go ahead and go to the next one because I made a dumb, goofy mistake. So we're going to just pretend that did not happen. Okay, so here I have x plus 2 is equal to 8. So step 1, we're always going to check to see if we have multiplication or division. So I've got x plus 2 equals 8. So I don't have multiplication or division. So I'm going to check for addition or subtraction. So as you can see, I do have addition in this problem. I'm adding 2 to x. So I'm going to go ahead and ignore the multiplication or division, and I'm going to go ahead and move to the constant. So to get rid of that constant, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. And that shouldn't be equals 8, but either way, you're going to solve it the same way. So you're going to get x is equal to... Am I losing it? I think I am. I'm so sorry, guys. I messed up these first two problems. So we're just going to reset and act like that did not happen. And we're going to start down here. So here I have negative 4x is equal, or not is equal, is less than 16. So I'm going to check for multiplication or division, which I do have. So to get x by itself, I'm going to divide by negative 4 on both sides. And I'm going to get x. And remember, I'm going to flip my sign because I divided by a negative number, okay? So I'm going to highlight all those negative signs. So I'm going to flip the sign, and instead of x is less than, it's going to be x is greater than. So remember, if your coefficient is negative, you flip the sign. Okay, and I just say that, guys, because this is ultimately what kills people on assessments and stuff, is they will do all the math right and then forget to do this sign. And so my biggest piece of advice to you is to wait until the very end to flip it. Don't try to flip it up at the top. Wait until the end, and then, just check your last step. Okay, so I'm going to get x is greater than -4. So here I have x minus 12 is greater than or equal to 20. So I'm going to go ahead and skip straight to step 2, which is to add or subtract your constant. So here I have a constant. It is 12. To get rid of that minus 12 on both sides, I'm going to add 12 to both sides. And that is going to give me x is greater than or equal to 32. So here's the thing. Your sign will never, ever, ever flip with a one-step equation if all you're doing is adding or subtracting, okay? If there's no multiplication or division involved on how you're solving the equation, there is no way your sign is going to flip, okay? So now I have 1/2 x is less than or equal to 22. So I'm going to multiply or divide because I have a coefficient. And remember, that's always going to be our first step, is to multiply or divide. So here, since I'm multiplying by 1/2, I'm going to divide both sides by 1/2, which is a positive number. So I'm going to get x is less than or equal to 44. So my sign did not flip because my 1/2 was positive, okay? So now I have negative x is greater than 3. So I'm going to multiply or divide by my coefficient, which in this case is going to be that negative in front of x. And remember, we can treat that like a -1. So we're going to multiply or divide by a coefficient, which gives me -1. So I'm going to do negative x divided by -1. And remember, if your coefficient is negative, your sign will flip. Okay, so I'm going to get x. And remember, I flip my sign because my coefficient's negative to get x is less than -3. Okay, so these are your 2 videos for the week. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll do more examples on Wednesday or Thursday.